Alien killer never had a human target before, the bartender said, wiping the same dented glass for the 10th time. So we warned him, run. The cantina on Nexus 7 station went silent at that line. Smoke curled between dim lights and half-broken holosigns flickered over tables crowded with species from 100 worlds. The smell of plasma oil and rusted blood filters filled the air. Somewhere, a cooling vent hissed like something alive. Everyone knew who they were talking about. The hunter sat in the darkest corner, where even light seemed to fear intruding. Jacques Vell, the Endless. 8 feet of sinewed precision wrapped in plates of living armor that rippled with faint color, like the surface of oil. Every trophy nailed to the wall behind him had its own story, and every story ended the same way, with silence. He didn't need to look up. Fear did his introductions for him. A Scythian gambler stopped mid-laugh. 2 armored Krith turned their heads toward the floor. The sound of conversation thinned until it became the hum of machines and breath. Jacques was eating slowly, slicing thin strips of dried blood beast with claws sharp enough to shave atoms. His yellow eyes moved from reflection to reflection, watching everyone without appearing to move. A shadow detached from the crowd and approached. Small, gray, trembling. A Taxian merchant, carrying a datapad and shaking hands. Great hunter, he began, voice cracking. I bring an offer. I don't take offers, Jacques said. His voice was a rasp of metal over sand. This one, the merchant said, forcing a smile, pays 10 times your usual rate. That earned him a glance. Jacques leaned back, the cantina light catching the jagged scars across his chest. 10 times, he repeated. For what, pray? A thief, the merchant said, placing the datapad on the table. A smuggler who stole antimatter cores from my vessel. Dangerous. Escaped into the human sectors. The word human drifted through the air like a spark over fuel. A few old patrons stiffened. Others looked away quickly. Humans. The new species. The unpredictable ones. Jacques tapped the datapad. A woman's face appeared, half lit by the blue light of a mining torch. Mara Quinn, age 32, former military, now a courier, operating near Kepler 9c. He tilted his head. Human, he said, tasting the word. I've heard of them. Primitive soldiers. No claws, no armor, no natural senses worth noting. They're fragile, the merchant agreed too quickly. She will not last long if you find her. From the far end of the bar came a low rumble, a voice roughened by age and regret. A Zentoran veteran, mane gone gray, scars like canyon lines across his snout. He pushed back his stool and walked toward them slowly. You're taking a human contract, he said. Jacques didn't answer. The old soldier stopped beside the table. I fought humans 20 years, ago, before they joined the council. We thought they'd be easy. Farmers with rifles, children with steel hearts. Jacques' eyes narrowed. You won. The veteran's tail twitched. We took the colony, yes, but we lost 30,000 warriors for it. They didn't run. They didn't surrender. They burned their own fields just to deny us food. Jacques smirked. Your soldiers were weak. The veteran leaned closer until Jacques could smell the old blood in his fur. No, we were confident. That's worse. If you're smart, Hunter, you'll remember this before you meet one of them. Jacques' claw tapped the table once. Remember what? The old soldier's voice dropped to a whisper. Run! Laughter erupted from a nearby table. Nervous, too loud. A few patrons pretended to joke about it, but nobody met Jacques' eyes. The hunter's smile was small and cruel. You think humans frighten me? I think they warn you, the old soldier said. That's the difference. He turned away, shoulders heavy with memory, and ordered another drink. Jacques stared at the datapad again. The human woman's face didn't look dangerous, just alive, alert, unremarkable. The kind of face predators forget right before they die. Half payment now, he told the merchant. The merchant exhaled with relief and transferred the credits. Half now, half when you bring proof. Proof will be her skull. When the merchant scurried off, Jacques rose to his full height. The cantina's noise dimmed further. His movement was fluid, practiced, predatory. He slung his weapon harness over one shoulder, a plasma rifle forged from captured ship plating. It hissed faintly, the sound of power ready to burn. He walked toward the door. No one stopped him. Chairs scraped quietly aside to clear his path. As the metal door slid open, the old Zentoran spoke again, not turning his head. Every hunter says the same thing before their first human job. Jakar paused in the doorway. And what's that? They say it'll be easy. Jakar's grin showed every tooth he had. It will be. Outside, Nexus 7's dock stretched into a maze of steel and neon. Cargo drones buzzed overhead, shuttling shipments between ships like metallic insects. The hunter's vessel waited at the far end, a sleek black predator among cargo haulers, its hull scarred from 100 kills. He stopped for a moment, staring at the planet lights beyond the viewport glass. "Run," he muttered, amused. Strange word for prey to use. Inside the ship, systems came alive at his presence. The AI's voice greeted him, cold and obedient. "Destination?" "Kepler 9c, he said. "Human space." "Mission parameters?" "Hunt. Capture unnecessary." The AI paused. "Probability of success, 98%. Jakar smiled. "Make it 100. The engines roared to life, vibrating through the decks as the ship lifted from its berth. The cantina's glow fell away behind him. Nexus 7 shrank to a point of light swallowed by stars. In the silence of space, Jakar reviewed the human dossier again. Sparse data, incomplete biological entries, no combat analysis. They hadn't been in the galactic database long enough for anyone to care. Primitive oxygen breathers from a wet world. He leaned back in his chair, claws tapping on the console. No claws, no armor, no instincts. His grin widened. Perfect prey. But deep in the ship's subroutines, hidden inside the transferred credit packet, a sliver of foreign code activated. Human design, dormant until now. It pulsed once, sending a silent transmission through encrypted channels. In a colony far away, a woman looked up from a mining console as her comm light blinked. A single message appeared. "He's coming." Same words as before. "Run." Mara Quinn smiled faintly and whispered back, "They always do." The black ship cut through the void like a blade through cloth. No insignia, no lights, no sound but the hum of containment fields holding its engines in check. Jakar sat at the command chair, motionless, a statue of living armor and patience. The hunt had begun. The galaxy always looked peaceful before he painted it with blood. He studied the holographic projection of Kepler 9c, an ice-cold mining world circling a dying blue sun. Sparse atmosphere, thin population, minimal defenses, the perfect place to hide or die. His claws tapped the armrest in rhythm with the nav computer's pulse. "ETA, 19 hours, the ship's AI announced. "Environmental warning, surface temperatures range from -80 to -100 degrees Celsius. Jakar grunted. "Good. The cold slows everything, but me." He rose from the chair and crossed the narrow passage to the armory. Racks of weapons gleamed in the dim light. Plasma rifle, vibro knives, tracking drones, EMP nets. Each tool had ended something that once thought it could run. He selected his rifle first. Black alloy, energy coils carved with kill markings. One mark for every successful hunt. 17 species, 17 lessons in death. Soon an 18th. The armor plating of his chest flexed as he tested the weapon's balance. Humans, he thought, probably bled like everyone else. The ship shuddered as it entered faster than light. Outside, the stars smeared into silver threads. The hunter's reflection ghosted across the viewport. Eyes like molten gold, expression empty of anything but calculation. "Playback last communication," he said. The AI projected the Taxian merchant's transmission again. The alien's voice trembled through static. "She stole antimatter cores. Human female, Mara Quinn. Dangerous. Do not underestimate." Jakar paused the recording on the word dangerous and smirked. Every client said that. They said it for pirates, deserters, and assassins. It never changed the ending. "AI," he said, "compile data on human species." The projection shifted to anatomical schematics. Average height, 1.7 meters. Average mass, 70 kilograms. Bone density moderate. Muscle distribution adaptable. Heart rate irregular. Endurance variable. Variable, Jakar repeated. "Meaning?" Some individuals survive longer than predicted. Statistical deviation exceeds norms for other species. Because of luck? Unknown. Possibly psychological factors. Humans exhibit persistent survival behavior even after terminal injury. The hunter chuckled. Persistence won't stop plasma fire. The AI did not answer. It never argued, but its silence felt like disapproval. He ignored it and focused on preparation rituals. Every hunter had them. Superstitions disguised as precision. He cleaned his claws with acid cloths, calibrated every rifle lens, checked power cells twice. When he was finished, he stood before the mirror panel beside the hatch. The reflection that looked back was not a soldier or a killer, but something older, almost sacred in its brutality. One shot, he told himself. One head. As the ship exited faster than light, the stars snapped back into focus. Ahead lay the gray marble of Kepler 9c. The planet rotated slowly, its surface covered in ash-colored ridges and glassy plains. Mining lights glowed faintly on the dark side, tiny sparks against endless frost. Target coordinates received, the AI said. Colony population, 2,187. No registered defense network. She hides among workers, Jacques murmured. Clever. He ordered the ship into a polar orbit, invisible to local sensors. For 3 hours he watched through drone feeds. The colony looked lifeless. Prefab domes linked by covered walkways, machines chewing at frozen rock. Then he saw her. Human. Brown hair tied back, face streaked with dust, movements methodical. She operated a drilling platform at the heart of the mine, surrounded by noise and motion, yet somehow apart from it. The other miners spoke, laughed, shouted over comms. She worked in silence. Even through the feed, her focus unsettled him. No fear, no fatigue, just rhythm. Target confirmed, the AI reported. Human female. Energy signature matches profile. Begin pattern analysis, Jocker said. Track movement, rest, meals, sleep. Drones scattered across the surface, their black hulls blending with shadow. Hours turned into a calculated symphony of observation. She slept little, ate less. Every action precise, like someone waiting. He didn't know for what. She's not running, he said finally. Why? No data, the AI replied. Maybe she doesn't know you're coming. Jacques considered that, then dismissed it. No prey ever knew until it was too late. The first warning would be claws at their throat. Yet the way she moved, the calmness, the control, it didn't fit fear. He shifted in his seat and zoomed in. A faint metallic glint shimmered on her wrist. A comm device with encrypted signal pulses. AI, decode frequency. Attempting. The feed buzzed, then cleared for a moment. A single word repeated in binary. Run. He stared at it. Is that part of her network? Negative. Broadcast is fragmented, origin unknown. Possibly human emergency code. He leaned closer. Then why transmit it into open air? Unknown. Jacques shut off the feed. Enough study. Observation dulled instincts. The kill was what mattered. Prep drop pod. The ship obeyed, lowering the armored pod into its launch cradle. He climbed inside, every motion slow, deliberate. The interior was small, just enough space for hunter and rifle. Hydraulic clamps sealed with a hiss. Confirm landing zone, he said. Surface coordinates locked. Minimal sensor interference. Mission window optimal for stealth insertion. Begin descent. The pod detached and plummeted toward the planet, a streak of black fire through thin clouds. Inside, Jacques steadied his breathing. The atmosphere burned orange outside, painting flickers of light over his armor. The impact came soft, precision landing, a kilometer from the mining zone. He stepped out into silence. The world smelled of iron and frozen dust. Wind scraped across the rocks, whispering through his armor joints. Above him, the sky was a dirty blue fading into violet. He activated his cloak. His skin rippled and matched the landscape, colors shifting with the terrain. To the naked eye, he vanished. The walk to the colony took 2 hours, each step perfectly calculated. He crouched behind boulders when security drones passed overhead, though their sensors never registered him. Near the perimeter fence, he paused to study the facility again. Cold lights flickered through frost-covered windows. Machinery hummed underground. He could hear the vibrations, the deep rhythmic pulse of drills boring into rock. And beneath that, faint but distinct, the pattern of a heartbeat. Human. He followed it. Through maintenance tunnels, past flickering lamps, down ladders coated in frost. The air thickened with machine oil and heat from fusion vents. He crouched behind a pipe cluster, claws extended, breath slow. The human worked 30 meters ahead, cutting metal sheets for the drill platform. Steam coiled around her in lazy swirls. He smiled behind his mask. This was the moment hunters lived for, the quiet before dominance. The AI's voice whispered in his earpiece. Warning, local system broadcast resumed. Message repeating. Ignore it. Message reads, run. He smirked. Praise prayer. His claws flexed once. He moved forward, invisible, silent, confident that the word meant nothing. Behind him, unseen, one of his drones flickered red for a second, infected by a signal embedded in that same broadcast. Its status log updated itself with a new instruction written in human code. Observe the EE, observer. The air inside the mining tunnels tasted like rust and ozone. Jakar crouched in the dark, invisible, the hum of his cloaking field vibrating softly against the walls. The human worked alone under the harsh lights, surrounded by machines that hissed and groaned like animals. Her movement was steady, calm, too calm for prey. Each stroke of her plasma cutter was measured, efficient. She didn't hum, didn't talk to herself, didn't check over her shoulder. That stillness made him hesitate for the briefest second before his hunter's instinct drowned the thought. Humans were clever imitators, that was all. They pretended control until they were screaming. He inched closer, every step a silent calculation. The temperature sensors in his armor compensated for the thermal glare of the machinery. He moved between columns of steel and pipes slick with condensation. The distance closed. 20 meters, 15, 10. Her back was turned. He flexed his claw, the retractable blade slid from his fingers with the soft click of sharpened promise. Target acquired, his AI whispered through the comm. He didn't reply. The final approach required silence. Another 3 steps, then one strike, quick, perfect. He could already see the shape of her neck through the dust-filled light. He raised his hand, ready to cut the air. Then she spoke. You breathe slower than they do. The words hit him like a plasma shot. He froze mid-motion. Her voice was calm, almost conversational, carrying no fear. And your heart, she continued, still facing away from him. Faster than ours. You should work on that if you ever want to sneak up on a human. Jakar's muscles tensed. His cloak shimmered once, destabilized by the sudden rush of adrenaline. How could she know? The field was perfect. Even multispectral scanners couldn't detect him. He stepped back instinctively, blending again into the metal shadows. First time hunting my species? She asked. Now she turned slowly, revealing a face marked with grease and sweat, but her eyes were steady. They didn't search the room. They looked straight at him. Don't bother hiding, she said. You smell like your ship. Different metal, different air. For the first time in decades, Jakar felt confusion. You can't see me, he said aloud, forgetting the discipline of silence. Not exactly. She set the plasma cutter down and straightened. But I can feel you. The air pressure shifts when you move. Old miners learn that. The tunnels talk. Her expression softened for a heartbeat. I heard about you, the famous one who never fails. Her voice echoed through the chamber. But someone should have told you what failure smells like. Jakar hissed and deactivated the cloak. Light revealed his full height, his black armor gleaming like liquid obsidian. You will regret this performance, he said. I regret nothing, she answered. The next moment exploded into motion. Jakar lunged, claws slicing air. She rolled under a conveyor belt, grabbing a metal rod as she moved. His strike split the belt's casing, sending sparks across the room. He followed faster than any human should track, but she was already moving, not away, but toward him. The rod in her hand struck his arm joint. Pain flared. His armor sparked where the joint met flesh. She used the impact to spin herself toward a control console, slamming her palm onto an emergency switch. The tunnel roared as hydraulic doors slammed shut, trapping them both inside. Steam vented from ruptured pipes, bathing the chamber in heat and noise. Jakar struck again, the claws missing her throat by inches. She ducked, slid across the floor, and swung the rod at his leg. It bent against his armor, useless, but it bought her time. "You fight well," he said, circling her. "You're strong for prey." That's what the last one said. She tore a panel from the wall, revealing a maintenance port. He saw her hand flick across the controls. The lights dimmed. His helmet sensors overloaded for a second as radiation flares spiked from the drill cores below. When his vision cleared, she was gone. He growled and switched to thermal view. Her heat signature pulsed faintly behind the machinery. He stepped forward slowly, savoring the moment. "It's over," he said. "You had your chance to run." "I wasn't planning to run," she answered from the shadows. Her voice came from his left, then from behind him. The acoustics distorted her tone, making it hard to pinpoint. He turned, claws raised. That was when she moved. A streak of white light cut across his visor. She'd thrown the plasma cutter like a blade. He ducked just in time, but the cutter smashed into the fuel pipe behind him. The explosion wasn't large, but the shock wave slammed him into the wall. Warning symbols flared across his HUD. Armor integrity down 20%. Vision flickered. He roared, more from rage than pain. Through the smoke, she approached with something small in her hand. A portable arc welder glowing bright blue. "What are you doing?" he demanded. "Teaching you a rule," she said, pressing the arc into his chest. The plasma bit through his armor with a hiss and the smell of burning metal. He shoved her back, smoke rising from the molten scar across his body. She fell but rolled quickly, picking up her plasma cutter again. He raised his rifle to end it, but she wasn't aiming for him anymore. She pointed the cutter upward at the sprinkler system. A burst of fire suppression foam cascaded through the room. His plasma rifle shorted out instantly. Sparks leapt from the weapon as it went dead in his grip. She smiled faintly. "You should have listened when they said run." She backed toward the maintenance hatch, sealing it behind her as alarms screamed through the facility. Jakar tore at the locked hatch, but it was fused shut by the heat. The foam thickened, choking the air, turning his breath into static. He forced the emergency release and stumbled out of the tunnel, armor smoking, fury pounding through every nerve. The AI's voice came back online, fragmented. "Severe damage sustained. Recommend withdrawal." "No," he snarled. "I end this now." But even as he said it, the scent of her still lingered in the air. Cool, deliberate, unafraid. She hadn't tried to escape. She'd chosen to teach. He reached up, touching the burn across his chest, the first real scar in decades. For the first time, he wondered if the old Zentoran had been right. He looked down the tunnel where she had vanished. Somewhere far away, machinery hummed and the echo of her voice returned, faint but clear. "Run." 2 weeks passed before Jakar's ship left orbit. His armor was repaired, his wounds sealed, but the scar on his chest refused to fade. No medicine could erase what plasma had branded into him. Every time he moved, the tissue beneath the plating pulled tight, a constant reminder of her warning. The AI monitored him silently. "You have replayed the encounter 47 times, it said at last. "Do you wish to continue analysis?" "I'm not studying," he growled. "I'm learning." The ship drifted through the dark between systems. Jacques had seen silence before, but this one felt different. Alive, watchful. He had hunted rebels with planetary bounties, smugglers armed with fleets, mercenaries who fought like demons. None of them had looked into his eyes and spared him. The human could have ended him. Instead, she let him crawl away, and then she vanished. He told himself it was pride that drove him to find her again, to finish what she started. But when he tried to trace her signal, something was wrong. The hunter was being hunted. "AI," he said. "Locate Mara Quinn." The interface flickered. "Access denied." "Override command Vel 7-1. "Override accepted. No data found." "She can't disappear," he snarled. "Everyone leaves a trace." "Someone erased it," the AI replied, "with precision beyond your usual clients." He stared at the screen. "Show my active contracts." The display remained blank. "What is this?" Central Bounty Network shows your record as inactive. License revoked. Impossible. He slammed a clawed hand against the console. Who did it? Source obscured. Digital fingerprints suggest human code. His vision darkened, rage boiling through him. He'd seen human code once before, primitive and inefficient. But this wasn't that. This was deliberate, elegant, surgical. They hacked the guild? No, the AI said softly. They rewrote you out of it. The next hour became a slow unraveling of everything he'd built. His accounts, frozen. His suppliers, silent. His private comm frequencies, all broadcasting error messages. When he tried to contact his broker on Nexus 7, the line cut instantly. Then a message appeared across every screen of his ship, written in a language only he and the AI should have known. It was a single word. Run. Jacquard tore the panel from the wall and crushed it. Trace it. No trace available. Then isolate all external networks. I'll find them myself. The AI hesitated. That would cut you off from navigation updates. Do it. The ship's lights dimmed as data connections severed one by one. The hum of the engines grew louder, emptier. He felt alone for the first time since he'd started hunting. The old veteran's voice whispered in memory. Run! He shook it off. Prey ran. Hunters adapted. He diverted power to tracking sensors, searching for energy signatures matching human ships. There were none. Instead, he found debris, 3 destroyed merchant vessels, all ships he'd used before as cover during hunts. Each one showed the same scorch pattern, a controlled plasma detonation. No survivors. He clenched his jaw. This wasn't random revenge. This was message warfare. The AI spoke again, hesitant, almost human. Incoming transmission. From who? Unknown. Encryption matches. The human. He opened the channel. Static. Then her voice calm and steady as before. Jacquard Vell, you're still alive. You made that mistake once already, he hissed. It wasn't a mistake. It was a lesson. I needed you to remember. Remember what? That your kind kills for money. Ours kills for meaning. He leaned forward. You think you understand hunters? I understand patterns. Yours are predictable. Track, strike, trophy, repeat. But you don't understand what happens when the prey studies the predator. The channel cut. He tried to reopen it, but all systems froze for 3 seconds. Then the AI spoke in a distorted voice, repeating her words. When the prey studies the predator. The interface flickered and returned to normal. System breach detected, it said. Damage? Minimal, but she's watching. He stared into the dark beyond the viewport. Every light felt like an eye. He needed control, a plan, something to remind him who he was. We hunt, he muttered. That's what we do. But when he looked at the scar again, the words felt thin. The ship's sensors pinged. 3 vessels approaching from different vectors. Small, fast, human design. He powered weapons immediately. They can't possibly match my firepower, he said. Confirm target locks. The AI didn't respond. AI? Interference detected. Navigation compromised. On the main display, his own coordinates began shifting. The 3 ships moved like wolves, cutting across his path in perfect formation. Their weapons weren't aimed at him. They were firing around him. Precision shots close enough to shake the hull without breaching it. They're driving us, he realized, steering a predator into the trap. He cut power and spun hard left, but they adjusted instantly, anticipating his move. Whoever commanded them knew his style. Open a channel, he barked. Her voice answered again, not from the comm, but through his own AI. You always come straight at your target. Predictable. That's why you're still alive. Barely. You think 3 scout ships can cage me? They don't need to. I just need you to go where I want. He looked at the nav display and felt his stomach sink. She was herding him toward the asteroid field near Vega Prime, the same one he'd used years ago to trap fugitives. The irony stung. You think you can beat me with my own tactics? He growled. No, she said, her tone almost kind. I'm just showing you that we learn from the best. The line went dead. He tried to break formation, but the ships tightened the noose, forcing him deeper into the rocks. Sensor echoes multiplied until the system showed hundreds of false contacts. Static drowned the comm. He switched to manual control. "They can't hide forever," he muttered. The first missile struck his aft shields. Then another. He fired back, but the explosions only created more debris, more cover for them. His radar filled with ghosts. "AI, calculate escape vector. Unavailable. Gravitational interference high." "Then guess. Probability of success, 12%. "We'll take it." He ignited full thrusters, forcing the ship through a narrow cluster of asteroids. The hull scraped rock. Warning alarms screamed. Another missile hit. This one aimed precisely to cripple, not kill. The rear engines died, plunging the vessel into a slow spin. He fought the controls until the ship stabilized between two giant stones. Silence again. His heart hammered. Then her voice returned, close as if she were standing beside him. "This isn't about killing you, Jakar. You wouldn't learn anything from that." He looked around the cockpit. Every display now showed her face, recorded, maybe live. "What is this?" "Lesson 2, she said. "Isolation." He felt it then. The weight of distance, of being cut from every network, every ally, every voice. Hunters needed prey. Without it, the hunt turned inward. She continued softly. "You took trophies from 17 species. I made sure they all know your name again. The ones who paid you now pay to watch you fall." He tried to speak, but she talked over him. "You taught us how predators think. We listened. You thought mercy was weakness. It's leverage." The transmission ended with static. Jakar sat in the half-dark, breath shaking. His ship drifted powerless through the asteroid field, every wound in its hull glowing faint orange. He realized finally that she wasn't hunting him with weapons. She was dismantling him piece by piece. His money, his reputation, his faith in himself. Each strike as precise as one of his claws. For the first time in his long life, he wondered how much worse a lesson could get. Then the comm light blinked once more, a new message appearing on the cracked screen. It wasn't her voice this time, but the collective whisper of a dozen different humans, overlapping through distortion. "Still think we should run?" it asked. He said nothing. The scar on his chest throbbed in rhythm with the silence. Outside, the void waited, patient as always. The ship drifted between tumbling rocks, hull scorched and engines barely alive. Emergency lights painted Jakar's armor in pulses of red. The air inside the cockpit smelled of burnt circuits and coolant. He had been silent for hours, watching the asteroid field turn around him like the jaws of some slow, ancient beast. His AI stuttered, running on backup processors. "Power at 20%, it reported. "Recommendation, retreat." "Retreat where?" he muttered. The navigation map was blank. Every route out of the field was jammed by human signal jammers. He recognized the tactic. He had used it himself countless times, herding prey into terrain they couldn't control. But it was more than that. Each jammer transmitted the same code, repeating in low-band radio, "Run." The word filled the cockpit like a heartbeat. He snarled and slammed his claws into the console, shattering it. "Enough games!" The fragments floated in zero gravity before falling against the deck. His breathing grew louder inside his helmet. "They want to scare me," he said. "That's what prey does when cornered." The AI did not answer. In truth, there was nothing left for it to say. He rerouted power from shields to engines and fired the thrusters. The ship jerked forward, scraping against the side of an asteroid before regaining balance. Warning lights flared again, but he ignored them. He guided the vessel deeper into the field, following the faint echo of human ships. They were still here. He could feel them. The silence between radar pings carried weight, like eyes in the dark. He adjusted the weapon systems manually. "When they appear," he whispered, "they'll find out what real hunters do." The trap came 20 minutes later. 3 human corvettes emerged from behind the larger rocks, moving in perfect formation. They didn't broadcast transponder codes, but their energy signatures were clean, disciplined, military. Jakar grinned. "Found you." He launched 2 plasma torpedoes. The missiles streaked across the void, twisting between asteroids. One hit dead on, engulfing a ship in blue flame. The other missed. But then the fire vanished and the target remained untouched. Holograms, decoys. He cursed and spun his ship around just as a real strike hit from behind. The explosion rocked the hull, throwing him from his seat. His vision flickered. The human voice returned over the comm. Still predictable. Mara Quinn's tone was calm, even gentle. You're wounded, Jakar. You should have left when I warned you. He grabbed the comm unit. You call this a hunt? 3 ships against 1? No, she said. 3 lessons against 1 habit. Another blast shook his vessel. Panels fell from the ceiling. He fired wildly into the debris field, each shot illuminating the dust. For a moment he caught a glimpse of her corvette, a small craft, scarred but functional. He locked onto it and fired the main plasma cannon. The beam tore through the dark, striking the asteroid just as the corvette moved aside. The impact split the rock, throwing shards of molten stone into his path. His ship tumbled. Warnings screamed in 10 different languages. When the motion stopped, half his control systems were gone. Only one weapon still functioned, the vibro knife locked into his wrist gauntlet. It would have to be enough. He initiated an emergency EVA and blasted from the ship in his exosuit, pushing through the dust toward the human vessel. She wanted him to run. He would walk into her den instead. The corvette floated near a shattered asteroid, its lights dimmed to near black. He attached himself to its hull, cut through a maintenance panel, and slipped inside. The corridors were narrow, human-sized. His massive frame scraped the walls as he moved. The interior lights flickered faintly, powered by auxiliary generators. He followed the faint vibration of engines until he reached a cargo bay. The door slid open. She was waiting for him. Mara Quinn stood in the center of the room, helmet off, wearing a light tactical suit. A plasma pistol hung at her side, but she didn't reach for it. You really don't give up, she said. He stepped forward, claws glinting under the emergency lights. A hunter finishes what he starts. So does a teacher. Then teach me how to kill you. Her eyes softened with something that almost looked like pity. Killing me would be easy. You've done harder things. But understanding why you shouldn't, that's what you never learned. He lunged. She sidestepped faster than before, using the low gravity to push off a wall. His claws tore through a crate, spilling metallic dust that hung in the air like glittering mist. He slashed again, nicking her arm. Blood floated in small crimson spheres. She gritted her teeth but didn't scream. Every wound you give me, she said, costs you something. He ignored the words and attacked again, pinning her against a railing. His claw rose for the final strike. You could have run, he growled. I told you, she whispered. We don't run. We adapt. Then the floor shuddered. His proximity alarm screamed in his helmet. Something big was moving outside the ship. Through the viewport, he saw the broken asteroid shifting, pieces orbiting around a glowing core. The humans had mined it. They'd turned the rock into a weapon. Magnetic anchors exploded, pushing the fragments toward them. You'll destroy yourself, he roared. No, she said. Just the lesson. She hit a switch on her wrist pad. The explosion outside ripped the asteroid apart, hurling the corvette through space. Both of them slammed against the wall. The lights died completely. Darkness. The ship spun end over end, alarms howling. He pushed himself up, disoriented. She was gone again, somewhere in the shadows. His infrared picked up her outline near the control console. He moved silently this time, crawling low. But as he reached her, she spoke without turning. You still don't get it. She pressed another switch. The emergency bulkhead dropped between them with a crash. He struck it hard, claws sparking. You can't hide forever. Not hiding, she said through the comm. Repositioning. He could hear her moving above him in the next corridor. He tore through the bulkhead and followed. When he reached the bridge, she was there, standing by the cracked viewport. The stars burned behind her. You have nothing left, he said. Your ship is dying. You're bleeding. And you? She asked softly. What's left of you when there's no one left to fear you? The question stopped him, only for a moment, but it was enough. She raised her hand holding a small device, a plasma grenade, its timer blinking red. You can kill me, she said, but you'll die too. He stared at her, breathing hard. Are you willing to die for a lesson? Always. He saw it in her eyes. No bluff, no hesitation. For the first time, he believed her. He lowered his claws slowly. "What are you?" he whispered. "Human," she said. "And that should scare you." She hit the release on the bridge airlock. The explosion of decompression threw them both backward. He clung to a railing, fighting the pull. She drifted toward the opening, her suit sealing automatically. Before she disappeared into the void, her voice echoed in his calm, "You were warned." Then she was gone. The grenade detonated behind her. The blast ripped through the bridge, throwing Jacques across the room. He hit the floor hard, armor cracked, body numb. The fire died quickly in the vacuum, leaving only silence and the flicker of distant stars. He struggled to his feet, every movement agony. The ship's systems were dead. The human ship had vanished into debris. He stood alone amid smoke and drifting metal, the words still repeating in his head. Run. Not a command. Not a warning. A memory. He sank to his knees, staring at the scar glowing faintly through his armor. For the first time in his life, he couldn't tell whether he was predator or prey. 3 weeks later, the hunter returned to Nexus 7 station. No one noticed his ship arrive. The obsidian spine limped through the docking bay like a wounded animal, its hull scarred and engines coughing out smoke. Jacques walked down the ramp alone, armor patched, movement slow. The predator who once terrified half the criminal underworld now drew whispers for a different reason. The Endless had been beaten. The air in the cantina was just as he remembered, thick with smoke, oil, and fear. But it no longer belonged to him. Conversations didn't stop when he entered. They merely dipped, the way people pause to make sure the ghost they're seeing is real. He sat in the same corner booth where the taxi and merchant had first approached him. The table still bore the scratches from his claws, small scars of arrogance etched into metal. He ordered nothing. The bartender, recognizing him, slid a glass across the table anyway. It was a gesture of pity, not respect. Jacques stared into the liquid, seeing reflections of himself twisted by amber light. The scent of burning circuitry and human sweat still clung to his armor. He'd cleaned it 100 times, but some things didn't wash off. He was no longer hunting, he was remembering. The silence stretched until a familiar voice cut through it. "Rough few weeks?" He looked up. Standing across from him was a human in civilian clothes, plain, gray, unarmed. She looked like anyone and no one. It took him a moment to understand what his eyes were telling him. Mara Quinn, alive. Her short hair was streaked with dust, and a faint scar crossed her left arm where his claws had touched her. She smiled slightly, not with triumph, but recognition. "You're dead," he said, more disbelief than accusation. "I was," she answered, "for about 12 minutes. We planned for that." She pulled up a chair and sat without asking permission. Around them, the noise of the cantina dimmed. Even the ones who didn't know who she was could feel it, the shift in air pressure, the weight of two predators sharing one table. He stared at her. "You destroyed my ship, my reputation, my network. What more could you possibly want?" "Understanding," she said quietly. "You think humans fight to win. That's your mistake. We fight to remember." Jacques leaned forward, voice low. "Remember what?" "That we survived a world designed to kill us," she said. "Everything that ever lived on Earth tried to end us. Storms, beasts, each other. We learned that mercy can terrify more than violence. You see a warning and think it's weakness. For us, it's the moment before we build a plan that ends you." He let out a harsh sound, somewhere between a laugh and a snarl. "Then why are you here? To finish the job?" "No," she said. "To end it properly." She gestured around the room. "Look at them. They still fear you. They whisper your name like a curse. You're still a weapon, Jacques, but now you know who forged you." His claws tapped the table once. "And what am I supposed to do with that?" "Whatever you choose," she said. "That's the part you never understood. We don't control others. We change them." She stood. "You were the lesson." He watched her turn to leave. Something in him, the old predator, the one who'd never begged, never lost, wanted to rise, to prove the hunt wasn't over. But he didn't move. He just asked softly, "Why spare me again?" She stopped at the doorway and looked back. Because fear fades, she said. Lessons don't. Then she was gone, swallowed by the neon glare outside. For a long time he sat there, hearing her words echo against the walls of memory. Fear fades. Lessons don't. The hum of the station's generators filled the silence between his thoughts. He reached into his belt pouch and pulled out the last of his trophies. A tiny metallic tooth from a kill years ago, polished smooth by time. It meant nothing now. He placed it on the table and left it there, payment for the drink he never touched. As he stood to leave, someone else entered the cantina, a young Altarian hunter with new armor and a confidence too bright for survival. The rookie walked straight to the bar and ordered loudly enough for everyone to hear. "I just got my first human contract," he boasted. "Family on Proyon 4. Easy credits." Jacquard froze mid-step. The room fell quiet again, just like it had weeks ago. He turned slowly, studying the boy's clean armor, the sharp edges of youth and arrogance. It was like looking at a reflection from his own past. The young hunter noticed him and straightened. "You're Jacquard Vel," he said, almost proud. "The Endless." Jacquard walked toward him, the crowd parting instinctively. He stopped close enough for the boy to smell scorched metal and defeat. "What did you just say?" The rookie blinked. "Human bounty. Should be simple, right?" Jacquard reached up, touching the scar through his armor, where the plasma burn still ached. He shook his head slowly. "No, it's never simple." The rookie frowned. "They're just humans." "Exactly," Jacquard said. "And that's the problem." He leaned closer, voice a low growl. "Before you hunt them, listen to me. They warn you first because they already know how it ends." The boy laughed nervously. "You're serious?" Jacquard's eyes, once bright with arrogance, were now old and heavy. "Completely. When a human says run, it's not for them. It's for you." The rookie swallowed, his bravado faltering. He looked around, expecting someone to laugh, but no one did. The cantina's silence pressed down like gravity. He turned back to Jacquard. "So what should I do?" "Find another line of work," Jacquard said. "Something that lets you live long enough to regret it." The boy hesitated, then nodded, closing his datapad and backing away. As he left, the room exhaled, conversation creeping back in quiet tones. Jacquard returned to his table for a moment, staring at the empty glass. In it, he saw her face again, the calm, steady eyes, the kind that didn't need to prove anything. He felt something shift inside him, a small crack in the armor of his old self. Outside, the station's corridor smelled of ozone and old dust. He walked until he reached the viewport overlooking the stars. Ships moved like slow fireflies through the dark. Somewhere out there, she was alive, teaching someone else the same lesson. He touched the scar one last time and whispered, "Run." The word no longer tasted like mockery. It tasted like truth. Behind him, the bartender watched through the doorway as the great hunter disappeared into the light of the docks. On the counter lay the metal tooth, glinting faintly beneath the haze of smoke. He picked it up, frowned, and placed it next to a datapad someone had left behind. On the screen was a single message spreading through the bounty networks. "Run protocol active. Human targets restricted." The legend of Jacquard Vel ended that night, not in blood, but in silence. The galaxy would remember him as the first to learn the human lesson and survive long enough to pass it on. Predators still spoke his name, but not with pride, only caution. And when new hunters whispered about humans, someone always repeated the words that haunted the dark between stars. They warned him. He didn't listen. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe for more tales of humanity's power, persistence, and unyielding will to survive. Humanity doesn't just fight back, it teaches. And those who don't learn always run too late.